Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sales Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Daniel McComber, and with me today is Michael McHenry. He owns many restaurants in Utah, including Sunday's Best, Oakwood Fire and Grill. We talked about some amazing things today, accountability in business. We talked about community, culture, connection. It was an absolutely phenomenal episode. I'm excited for you guys to listen to it. So the story I was saying, is I was like, I wonder what McHenry's going to wear, because you got some awesome style. And so I went to your social and you were freaking delivering gifts to Jimmy's place in the warehouse and everything. And so one, that was phenomenal. Thanks, and I want to hear a little bit about that. But two, I was like, dude, he's got this sick button up Santa gear on. So I better wear something green so you can kind of match the Christmas season. But dude, tell me a little bit about what you're doing this morning.
Yeah, thanks. And I wanted to go with this sort of Miami sort of like beach cowboy, like Hawaiian. I don't know. It felt like this Miami Hawaiian patio shirt with Santa on it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Tecovas. It sounds like you're in Fort Worth, but Tecovas from Austin, Texas. And I got into this brand like a year ago. And so I was like, big media day. Feels like I better rock a brand that I'm proud of and I really like them a lot. So that's where this hat came from. But this hat feels a little more like Panama to me than cowboy. And so that's where I was like loafers, this whole bit. But man, I mean, I always try to just fit the vibe. I dress for how I feel for the day. And that's oftentimes why I do wear like black a lot, is because I feel like my personality is like really bright and outgoing, and I don't need my clothes to be loud when I'm there. And so this was fun because, here we are. We had over 10,000 toys that a collective of entrepreneurs and friends and others and businesses had come together to contribute. So this is the 10th or 11th annual. Wow. It's the world's largest toy drive. It's put together by Dan Flashman and friends. And man, we busted it out today. And so my team and I went and filled up a Raptor truckload full and we came in like a couple hours after it had started to kind of replenish. And we took a focus. I'm a girl dad. Right? So I've got three daughters and my twin girls. And when I made a call to my good friend Roger Rojas, who's Dan's like right hand, he was like, hey, primarily focus on like little girl toys. I'm like, well, hello, that's perfect. He's like, I know. And so like we just loaded up and went in and it was just fun because I had the Santa shirt on. It was like more inviting and it was just kind of joking and because I was walking toys to their cars with the families. And so each kid or like parent could come in and they could get up to 5 toys per kid. Wow. And so some families, it's Utah. So some families are leaving like 25, 30 toys a piece. That's a lot of that's a lot of toys going out there. But
there's like 10,000 toys plus the ones you brought. So I was like, are they going to get rid of those? But then I was like, it's Utah. We got a lot of families.
In fact, I think this is the best turnout we've ever had in Utah.
Oh, good.
And I don't know if that's circumstantial, location, timing, whatever it might be, but it was interesting to take that on, Dan, because in fact, I said this to my wife following she was with me, but afterwards I'm like, could you imagine if that was your chance, like your shot to get your kids Christmas? I go, I know you and I know you well enough to know you'd be like pushing other families and moms out of the way, not because you're trying to be disrespectful, because you're going to just battle for what you can get for your family. And you see some of that. And having my 14-year-old daughter now be involved to be able to see that and understand its importance. And we typically try to sponsor anywhere between like 3 to 10 families a Christmas, sub for Santa or Secret Santa, or we take them shopping. And it's been really cool to be able to experience that, especially because I grew up in a single parent household. And so when you don't have as many choices, these types of things continue to just feel good and taste good, especially when it's not too far from home for me. And so I know what it feels like as a kid to like get something. I still treat everything I own, I treat it like I maybe never deserved it to begin with. And so it's like now that I've earned it and I do deserve it, everything tastes good to me. I'm like, cars are always organized. My stuff always runs super well.
Yeah.
I mean, I sold a boat that I'd had for like 6 or 7 seasons, and it looked like any other boat that'd been on the water for like 1 or 2.
Right.
It's just, I take such good care of all of my things, and there's just an appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And so to be able to do that here was so dang cool, man. So you're catching me fresh off of that.
No, you're good. Well, I got a little emotional as you were describing that too, just because, I have 2 kids, and what a blessing.
Boys, girls.
I got an older girl and a younger boy. Yeah. So turning 4 years old girl and a 1.5-year-old boy.
Wow, good for you.
Who's got platinum blonde hair somehow. And we're just loving it. So we cut it into a big old mullet. He's got the best blonde mullet you'll ever see.
Perfect for Texas.
And, he just fits right in. But it's an emotional time time of year for us, right? And the cool thing that I like that you said about that is that kind of combining like your outfit with like the gift giving and stuff like that. It's a general sense of excitement that you can give to other people. And it's funny, I was at a mastermind this past weekend, through Jimmy Rex. And it was interesting. Like some of the guys kind of poured into me a little bit like, Dan, you just like seem so excited about things. Like what is that? And I'm really glad you brought up the whole wearing black. Like this is the most color I've worn all week. I generally wear black too, but I feel like my personality just I am excited about a lot of things because growing up, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And so now I do cherish things. I get super excited about experiences and giving more than anything material that I have in my life. And when I do get something material, I make sure that I take care of it really as well too.
It's beautiful. I think too many of us discount the fact that what we do actually have direct control over is our presence. Right. What we do actually have direct control over is how we engage, how we participate, who we are and how we show up. Yeah. And we control our energy. No one else controls our energy. And you can give permission to others, right? You can give others authority over you. And so if you choose, I'm most definitely not that guy. Right? But I most definitely like to walk into a room and light it up, especially if I care about those people. And I think that really comes even more deep rooted from my childhood that I just wanted to be accepted so bad. When I got into this business, especially when I started building out restaurants and designing them on my own, a big part of that came like deep rooted from like not being invited. Like I really am that guy that built like the biggest, most connective dining room tables in this community because I wanted a seat at the table so bad that I started building it. Yeah, I'm the guy that built the table, and now I can't fit everybody there. Right? The truth is, it's one of those flips in the script. But life is so beautiful and so interesting, and our journeys have so much, to teach us. And I'm a big believer in how we look, how we feel, how we engage, how we participate. If you're kind of take something such as like the art on the walls in here, but it's like you never want to put a prettier frame around your picture. And that's oftentimes what I literally have over 20 of the exact same t-shirt because I wear the same black t-shirt almost every single day. Now, I rock different shoes, different jeans, different accessories, watches, whatever it is. Yeah. But I just actually really like that shirt and how it fits me. So I'm like, damn, let's roll with it.
Let's roll with it. Yeah. So, it's the idea. Like I played lacrosse growing up and in college, and look good, feel good, play good is something that just was always talked about. And I 100% agree. Well, going more to building the table and having invited people to come to it. I was diving into your different podcasts that you've done and the social media. And there's 3 words that stuck out to me the most.
Cool.
Okay. It was community, culture, and let me make sure I get this right. Yep. So connection, community, and culture.
Yeah.
So how do you think as a businessman, first of all, why are those 3 things so important? And second of all, how have you learned to create those things the best?
Well, thank you for spending time, man. It's important to me that, and I appreciate that. I honor that you spend the time to look at it. Because honestly, when I sit down in these chairs and contribute to other platforms, I'm just going with what I feel, and I'm just going with where we kind of riff or what shows up. And I didn't expect to talk about Santa t-shirts.
I didn't either, but
like
I love
clothing.
It so
but
much.
The vibe is just what the vibe is. And the truth is, I learned early on that it's impossible to be in business without customers, right? Yeah. And the truth is I just love my home. I love the sidewalks that I walk on. I love the people. Like I'm the guy that's like, I'm just smiling. I cause a lot of road rage because I don't pay a lot of attention when I'm driving, at least to the road, but I pay attention to people. Like I see people. I'm just excited to engage. I'm excited to feel and reciprocate a great smile. And I just know that that the energy, it's like, I love walking into a grocery store and they're like, how was your day? I'm like, oh, it was awesome. Like they're like taken back, like what made it so great? And I just take that moment like it's a choice.
Yeah.
Like God gave me this breath. I'm not wasting it. Like,
Right.
I woke up today.
Yeah.
We were a miracle to begin with, let alone the fact that we get to take another breath. I'm not going to waste it. And so a big part of his community's always been at the foundation of what we do. Selfishly, because you can't be in business without it.
Yeah.
And I think, just from the other side of the guest perspective, like I'm just absolutely obsessed with those that just choose us, right? There's over 5,000 restaurants and bars in Utah.
Wow.
And so when someone walks through my door, it's 5,000 to 1. And the truth is 5,000 to 1, then you walk and choose us and vote with your wallet. This is why I don't want to lose at that. Like even today, I caught the door for these gals and we pay attention to things. Like I knew we wrote this like a little VIP card on a little holiday card and put it on their table. It said like 40 plus years of friendship. And I knew it was these ladies because I had seen them before I left. They were checking in when I was leaving to go to the toy drive. So I get back to Sunday's Best. I see them at the door. I'm like, ladies, how was everything? And we just started to riff for a moment.
Yeah.
And then one of the gals, and you could tell it's like kind of visibly disabled, but she referenced and said, hey, like I have to let you know. And her speech was a little slower, but she's like, hey, I want to let you know that you guys were awesome. You accommodated us. You shifted our table into a quieter area. You placed us in a space or a place that didn't have as many speakers. Cause we're like vibrant. We're the brunch party house.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're like, geez, one, thank you so much for accommodating. And then your server, Zach, was amazing. And he joked with us and he was light. And then she said, but I want to let you know as a disabled person, I do find myself at times in restaurants that can't actually accommodate me. That just, they're like, hey, this is what we have and all we have to offer. And your team, and it wasn't just one person. I didn't have to call over a manager. It was like server, host, hostess. They just took care of us.
Wow.
And she said, thank you for kind of breathing that all the way through. And so that next bit of understanding culture is that no one works for me that doesn't prioritize people. No one works for me that doesn't actually love someone else.
Yes.
Like I have to know that you actually have a love and appreciation for your fellow sister and man. That's a bare root.
Yeah.
And there's big differences between hospitality and service. There's big differences between like brand and culture. There's big differences between just places that have to be highly efficient versus those that are experiential. Yeah. And in our business, we're both. We have the technical side and then we have the experiential side, right? So we always say like, we care about the efficiency, but we care more about how you feel. And so we're always looking for moments such as what I just expressed through our culture to create the most furthering experience possible. So we always go, hey, we want to create 10 experiences from one. And so we're going to do things like write out like a card, understanding that you guys are celebrating 40 plus years of friendship. We're going to bring beignets there. We're going to set the table for you in a way that you're just not expecting. Yeah. We're going to catch the door for you when you're not expecting. Yeah. We're going to bring over that order of beignets for you that you just weren't expecting. We're going to bring out the candle and write the card and set the mood for you when you just aren't expecting it. We want to be one or two steps out in front of you. So culture to me is a big deal. I think the other side of it for me from an internal standpoint, when you ask me that from the 3 C's, my team knows first and foremost that I care about them the most.
Nice.
Like, and that's, we're close to 200 team members now.
Wow.
And I can tell you that I get messages from the team often. And probably the biggest one I receive and I really value now, Dan, is when they just tell me how safe they feel and how supported they feel and how heard they feel. And so I know if we get that right, selfishly, we get that right, then all it is just, they're just translating our language, our movement, behavior, and maxims into others. So that C in culture is my number one. I focus more on that than any other thing in our business, like that. Yeah. Because that truly is the foundation, the megaphone, the projector of everything else that we do from a guest perspective. And so that's
when it comes
a really
to culture,
big part of it.
It's got to be top down, right? I mean,
I think it's top down and side to side.
Yeah.
It's, I see so many owners want to expect that from their teams. Yeah. Instead of actually just
building it themselves
and just exude that. And there's not a time I walked into any of our restaurants and you hold me to this, any listener, you challenge it. Yeah. But every one of my restaurants I go into, I say hi to every person every single time that works on my team, no matter what. I can't say hi to every guest. It's just not reasonable. Right. Some dining rooms have 200 guests in them. And by the way, I'm grateful for that. We've worked our asses off for that. But there's never a time that I walk through the door that I don't say hi to everyone. Yeah. And it's very rare that I leave without saying bye to most. Yeah. every operation. That doesn't matter if there's 30 people on shift or 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big one.
Well, I'm curious. I mean, you have this big organization now.
Yeah.
Have you developed a culture that is overarching for all of your brands and restaurants, or is it very individual per restaurant?
No, it's very much the same.
Okay.
So like take this, not dumbing it down for an analogy, but it's like, imagine that we're like a Baja truck, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know why I came up with that. High horsepower.
Let's go.
Exciting. You can send it.
Yeah.
But it's like, imagine that Baja truck. So you have the frame, the suspension, the motor, all of that stays intact.
Yeah.
We just put a new body on it and a driver.
Oh.
So it's like new body, new number, new paint job, but they all run the same.
It works.
They're just like, we never forget that we're just absolutely obsessed with the people that that keep us in business. And we'll just never forget. We'll just never forget ever that without them, it's impossible. And without our team, it's impossible. And so we just stress that across the board, whether we're serving Pico Rica Americana barbecue in Southern Utah, whether we're, serving, pancakes and champagne in the heart of their city, whether, we're internationally at the airport, whether, we're at Oakwood Fire Kitchen and Draper on the Neapolitan style pizza, like any of those things are there. Culture's my love.
What I love is that they are connected.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I've heard about Sunday's Best forever. Yeah. Right. And I went there, and that's actually one of the first times me and you met in person.
Cool.
It was right before we met in Moab.
Okay.
Yeah, we stopped there.
Oh yeah, there's like 3 or 4 of you guys, right? Sitting there in like
you came over and said hi, and I was like, oh, what's up? Who's this guy? He's like, oh, he owns the restaurant. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
He's like,
right.
It's Michael McHenry. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you come down to Moab and just blow us away with your amazing story. But the crazy thing is that if I know Michael and I know the amazing experience I can get at Sunday's Best, well, then all of a sudden I heard, was Oakwood
Fire Kitchen.
Oakwood Fire Kitchen. Oh yeah, Michael owns that one. Well, it's on my list now. I got to go over there because if I can get even a little bit of the experience I got here,
you'll get a lot of it.
Then it's going to be even better, right? And then I hear about the others, and so I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, right? Just build a culture around what you truly believe in, putting the customers first, putting the experience first,
and putting those individuals first too. And they duplicate in their likeness. That's the thing. Like we have incredible retention, but we're high horsepower too. Because like oftentimes companies can have high retention, but they have kind of low standards.
Sure.
Right. We have super high standards, and we're very performance driven. We're also very experience driven. And so it can be a bit exhausting or tiring if you aren't like a high performer.
Yeah.
Right. If you're just like a comfortable, I cruise at 65 kind of guy, gal, you just don't fit on our teams. Like we're loud, explosive, a bit obnoxious. Like there's just things associated with it. We like to be able to send it.
Yeah.
Right. We want to send it and send it often. And so, I mean, they say the average restaurant turns over more than like 2/3 of its staff on a semi-annual basis.
Are you serious?
So if you look at
holy cow,
it's super high.
That's way high.
Super. But think about how many people you know have worked in a restaurant. It's like everybody you know.
That's true.
They bus tables, they've served tables, they bartend, they cook, whatever it is. They've been a host, they've been a hostess, they've been a delivery driver, whatever it might be. And we have across all brands have a retention greater than 70%.
Wow.
We look at like the Sunday's Best team or even at the Oakwood Fire Kitchen team. The average team member at Oak's been there for more than 2 years. Whoa. More than 2 years.
That's crazy.
And there's no surprise the metrics follow that.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
It's
a 6-year-old business. It's up double digits over prior year.
Yeah.
And we are absolutely stomping December over prior year. We're like 140%.
Wow.
40% growth over prior year for a 6-year-old business in my industry. Yeah. It's now consumer spending strong, right? There's some things like I know people were concerned of recession and things that were out there. And I do believe that there are some realities to that. But what we have seen is an uptick in consumer spending to spend it with people they trust.
Well, that's the thing is I remember specifically my wife and we went to San Diego and that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I remember
love San Diego.
Dude, the food scene in San Diego.
I promise you I will live there.
Oh, it's the best. I mean, I was there from when I was born there till I was 10 years old, but because of that, I have a connection there and we go visit as much as we can. And the food scene there is like
so much inspiration from San Diego.
Yeah.
I know more about San Diego restaurants than I know about restaurants in Utah. and dude, I'm an executive board member for the Utah Restaurant Association and soon to be called to be chairman of that board, which I'm stoked about. I've been serving on it since like 2015. But I know more restaurants and restaurateurs probably in freaking San Diego than I know here.
Yeah, the tours are phenomenal. So we go to this place. I think it's Bueno Forchetta or something like that. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like, how could I forget? And it's an Italian restaurant. They're all speaking Italian. And the person that comes and greets us has an Italian accent, and we learn about the story of the restaurant. It's fantastic. Well, we go back months later, the same waiter sits us. And I think people don't understand that. It's like, that's pretty freaking rare. You can go back to the same restaurant over and over and over again and see familiar faces. Yeah. It turns it into almost like a neighborhood restaurant vibe.
Totally. Which is, I mean, we stand on that maxim, right? The McHenry group. I mean, our maxim we stand on is for the neighborhood, by the neighborhood.
Is that right?
Like, that's just like, that's who we are. Yeah. And there is something to be said, you know, when I acquired Oak, so I bought Oak, I didn't create it, but I bought it and then we reinvented. So I bought Oak. It was a pre-existing business. It was open for about 3 or 3.5 years when we bought it. We've more than tripled revenue since we bought it. Oh, man. Which is awesome.
That's
on
a 3.5 touch,
almost,
right?
almost 40-year business. Yeah. But when I acquired it because we had spent the prior almost 10 years in the fast casual and quick service verticals, right? So I was on the founding team of Costa Vida before that, other brands that were really, really awesome. Yeah. But it was in that quick service style. And that's what was overwhelming Draper and like these kind of large suburb areas where like every, fast food, quick service place there
no experience whatsoever. Totally. It's just food.
And so we acquired it because we really wanted to reintroduce what it means to be a true neighborhood bistro. Yeah. Where the neighborhood actually really knows your name.
Yes.
And the chef lives in the neighborhood and the host happens to be going to the local high school and, the server, and that's what we've absolutely nailed. I mean, my chef partner, Chef Ian Stokes, who's a total stud and business partner of mine, lives 3 miles from the restaurant.
That's
right.
That's awesome.
Like more than 30 to 40% of the staff lives within damn near walking distance of the location. You can't become more neighborhood. You can say everything you want, but the truth is like that just lives like fluidly. And so culture to me is truly, I always tell people like brand is how they notice you. Culture is why they come back.
Love that.
Right. And that's true. And someone who loves to create brand that truly loves to just nail culture, I think that's a big part of it. And I think, as you said, that last, C on the connectivity side, I've always like, I didn't come into this business, dude, because I'm like, I love cheese or wine or meatballs or like, dude, I believe everything tastes better in a tortilla. And, that biggest business is pizza and pancakes. Right. But it really comes down to connectivity. Like food and beverage is such a beautiful conduit, a beautiful connector. And so really like finding ourselves in the driver's seat to connect community through beautiful food and beverage and experience. And I can put it in ambiance and I can create and control the anthropology of the space, the essence of the space, the service of the space, the overall outcomes. And so when I'm kind of mad scientist in concept brand or experience creation, I'm hitting all of the senses, the 5 senses and beyond. Yeah. When I'm thinking about Dan and his family, when I'm thinking about, the first date, the rehearsal dinner, the I do, the celebration of life, the legacy, I anticipate those in advance. And so imagine as an artist, you're like anticipating what it looks like for Dan and his family of 4 to sit at a table. Yeah. And then imagine creating what you believe is the most furthering experience possible and then drawing that in an ideation form and then building it and then executing it and then tossing it back to Dan and his family to interpret what that means. Wow. I feel almost more of like a developer, an artist than I do like a restaurateur. Oh. I share this with Brian Wrigley, right? You're like one of my close friends. Yeah. Great thought partner of mine. Creator. What has changed his life too, right? Just I'm an example of that too. And I pushed him hard into that program. I pushed him hard in that reality. I remember, But I sit down and he actually is a developer and he's he's a visionary innovator. Mm-hmm. And we think so similarly. Right? Like he's brick and mortar and going vertical and mine is like soft science essence and experience. Like I believe I'm a developer of how people feel in a food and beverage experience.
Well, you could take like, he might build the 4 walls, but then you create what's inside of the 4 walls, right?
Yeah. We call it activation.
I love that. So I'm curious, obviously every amazing story has like a beginning and there's failures along the way.
Totally.
What was crazy for me is I had a couple one restaurant specific that I absolutely loved. My wife and I loved going there. Yeah. And then it didn't work out. And then we're like, why the heck didn't it work out? What the heck? We don't see him anymore. Yeah. Come to find out it was one of your businesses. Yeah. And you remember Even Stevens, of course. Yeah. Uh-huh. And when I was kind of looking into, I actually don't know the story behind it. You don't need to go into all the details. But what I'm curious is such an ambitious goal.
Yeah.
I mean, literally to donate a sandwich for every sandwich that you made. And obviously the intention behind it was great.
Yeah.
You had great food.
Yeah.
And so maybe what are some of like the differences that you learned from that experience? Again, you don't need to go into all the details about the experience itself, but the intention was good. I know that you're trying to build a culture around it and all the things we're talking about. Yeah. But what did you learn from that helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah, great question. One, what an incredible brand, right? And such good people. And what an impact. It's unfortunate it just wasn't viable. And the truth is, like, the rapid growth to success, it's so exciting. But my biggest takeaway is, like, dude, numbers of units is not your greatest success. Okay. Viability and enterprise value is your greatest success. Like, rushing to the finish line of number of units is not important.
Yeah.
Rushing to the finish line of viability is most important. Right. And so there was just different strategy. And I was hired, I was an employee, and I most definitely, had my ownership mentality, but I never signed the front of the check. Right. I was an employee. And truth is, like, the visionary and founder, like, I think he really, specifically with Even Stevens, he had really pure intent. Like, I think he really wanted that to just be awesome and amazing. And the truth is, just, there was a rapid growth company that was allocating funds to just grow rapidly, and they had multiple businesses. And ultimately, when that shut off, it was virtually impossible to sustain because we just had not only did we have not capital for growth, we just didn't have capital to sustain operations because we'd opened so many restaurants. And so
when you say viability, I think obviously kind of like comparing this experience to anyone who's in like entrepreneurism in any capacity, I feel like that's super important.
Yeah, like, you got to nail it before you scale it. So the truth is, like, you have no business going to the next location if you don't have viability in your current location. Right. And so it's like profitability, understanding, can I actually take this model, whatever that may be, in the industry, out of the industry, whatever it is in your vertical. Yeah. You got to make sure that it is bulletproof, that you understand that you have a business that can make money at all business levels, seasonality, whatever those peaks, valleys, ebbs and flows may ultimately be, but you need a recipe to be able to create that regardless of the circumstances. And I think in young companies, especially when they're exciting and new, and, you take a brand such as that, like, no one had ever directly correlated revenue and social impact at scale in the restaurant vertical ever before. No. Like, we were the first ones. Yeah. And so there was a lot of learnings in there. There was things that were out of our control, and there were plenty of things that were within our direct control. And I think, truth is, I look at it in hindsight, I was really proud of a lot of what happened. And I also realized that there's a lot of things we could have done better. Yeah. And it's just true of business. Like, true business has a much greater failure rate than not.
Right. Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of beautiful gifts and takeaways. And so, as difficult as that situation was, there were so many gifts and learnings from that. And there's a lot of pain too. That was hard. It was really hard on me. It was really hard on my team, really hard on our partners. But, truth is, like, I love community. I love teams. I'm a builder. Yeah. And so we just took the gifts, as hard as some of those are, and oftentimes they're on the chin and the nuts. And so I don't believe anybody gets in the business to lose. Right. But I think the truth is, you need to expect the fact that it is a possible outcome.
That reminds me, you've probably heard the quote, are you playing to win or are you playing not to lose?
Yeah. And when you're someone like me who just grew up with little but always knew he was loved, anything feels like a lot. Wow. And so, you look at even a Sunday's Best now, like, we've been in business for 3 years. Like, we just opened our second location. Yeah. We could have opened 2 to 3 locations in the first year for how popular and relevant we were out of the gate. I mean, it was like, open the door, drink out of a fire hose. Right. And so that was my biggest takeaway, is that success is not number of units. Success is just truly not number of units.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, and help me understand, for a lot of people out there, building a personal brand is becoming really important, I believe, and
it's
popular.
Necessary. To contend in today's business, it's necessary.
Right.
It's not important. It's a necessity.
Necessity.
You have to.
Why? What are some of the reasons why you just have to?
I think, people have access to too much information now, right? There's no longer this hide behind the brand. Yeah. Right? It's like, brands want to know who clearly, like, look what's going on in the news. Like, CEOs are under scrutiny. Yeah. Like, people want to understand, your why. People want to understand who you are, what you are. Why do you exist? And you know, I had it backwards for a long time. I used to just put everything into the brand. And then every time I exited the brand, it was like, I was like almost starting back at zero.
Yeah.
And my brand team and consultants early were like, build your brand, build your brand, build your brand. And basically what they were telling me is just put attention on it because you already have what people out there want to build. You're just not telling anyone about it.
Right.
And when I started to take my personal brand more seriously, and I'm not just talking like Instagram, I'm talking just personal brand as a whole, like who I am when I show up.
Yeah.
Who am I on and off the court? Yeah. Who am I as like, what are my personal values and maxims? Like what pillars do I stand on?
Yeah.
And what's wild, dude, is the moment I got serious about that, the quality and relevance and reputation of my personal brand was the igniter for my businesses.
Yeah.
And so all that did is it just kind of supersized.
Yeah.
Like we launch a brand, it just It's like peaker. Like our last 2 brand launches have been far more successful than any other brand launches we've had, and I think a big part of it has to do with the quality of the personal brand.
Absolutely,
that's at the foundation of them. And
I like what you just said there, the quality of the personal brand.
Yeah, and I think it's important.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I think. Listen, dude, this is not a time to. There's kind of no fooling the reality. You know? And one of the biggest compliments I get, and you would actually see this, and part of it is. Just who you see on social is exactly who you see in person.
Exactly.
It's just who and people ask my assistant that. They ask my wife that. They ask my best friends. They're like, yeah, that's just who he is.
Is he really that energetic?
Is he all the time? And if not, I'm sleeping. And if not, I'm not on camera. Right? Like it just. But people say that to me at the gym too. And truth is, I'm the guy that's like barking in the mirror. At the gym, like, yeah, I have my headphones on and I'm not there to like hang out with people. But when I train with the same intensity that I serve with.
Yeah.
Like I love with the same intensity I serve with.
Yeah.
Like it's like I engage. I'm that friend.
Yeah.
Right. I like moderation just doesn't really live in my world. You know. And so it's moderation. It's like I'm either like my foot is either like all the way down.
Yeah.
Or I'm asleep.
Yeah. Well, I've got to ask just because for a lot of people out there who are maybe getting started, I mean, would you suggest someone who's getting started to just, just turn on a camera and start recording yourself and then just kind of see what happens? Or for you, did you have to put in a little bit of work into yourself before you could kind of get to that point where you're okay putting yourself out there in a personal brand kind of way?
Listen, I don't necessarily know that there's the right way.
Sure.
I think there's plenty of wrong ways.
Yeah.
I think today more than anything, people want authenticity.
Okay.
So if that means turn around the phone and fumble a few words and like skip a beat and show your growth, I'm all for that. Like I'm all for just being like your most authentic self. And believe it or not, dude, there was a time when I turned the phone around that like made me uncomfortable. Or I'd turn it around, I'm like, oh, I don't want to see the double chin or get this and now I'm just like, dude, screw. Like, bro, this is exactly who I fucking am all the time.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I was first being mentored and managed in the business. This is years and years ago, this wonderful mentor, Sean Collins. And I remember he was helping me and mentoring me to be a general manager of the first ever Costa Vida, at least the first ever that he owned. It would have been considered location 2.
Okay.
And I remember he would help me get ready for the management meeting. I'd be standing up with like 2 or 3 other leaders around and I'd hold the agenda and it would just shake. I was so nervous. Like I literally was so nervous. And now I'm like, dude, I can stand on center court, dude, at the Delta Center in my underwear and be just fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's crazy what happens. So you're going to build reps. You're going to get more comfortable.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest kind of cheat code in this came from just be you.
Just be you.
And if you were just you and not worried about being what everybody else wants you to be, you're not an actor on social.
Right.
Like you're not The Rock, dude.
Right. Yeah.
And nor do you need to be unless you want to be. Right. If you're an actor, go be an actor.
Yeah.
But like for me, I think people, again, more than ever, just want authenticity. And that's just me.
The highs and the lows.
The highs and the lows. And I share it, man. If you catch my stories, I literally use my stories almost like an open journal. Like I just story tell.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sharing stuff like people are like, oh, dude, you share selfies. You take pictures. Like I get the trolls out there, the keyboard warriors, the people that like want to talk shit. I'm like, bro, you don't own anything and you would never take a picture of yourself. That's why you're talking shit to me.
Exactly.
Because no other business owner talks shit to another business owner, at least publicly like that.
No.
Right? It's like, bro, you never owned anything in your life. That's why you're talking shit because you have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
And if you did and understood the weight and responsibility you carry, you just wouldn't say that shit.
No.
Right. And the other side of it too is like, there was a time in my life when I wasn't proud to take a picture of myself in the mirror. But at 42, dude, and 240 pounds with abs, who has 3 kids and multiple businesses and works his ass off, bro, I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
So I got no problem sharing that and exuding that kind of energy. And I hope that other guys and gals that see that, like, I always tell people, like, dude, post that damn selfie.
Yeah.
Like, never walk by a mirror that you don't want to, like, for real.
Yeah.
Because there's so much appreciation in that. I think that's where it comes down to. Personal brand is personal. And that's where people miss it.
Yeah.
Personal isn't like, hey, go advance your communication skills and then do it. How about advance your communication skills openly and take someone else with you while you grow?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what's beautiful about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said where when you're working on your personal brand, would you rather have a million followers who don't really know who you are, but they just, I don't know, you're entertaining to them? Or would you rather have, I don't know, a smaller number of followers that resonate with you, know who you are, and are supportive and there to follow?
Listen, bro, you're there to be authentic. So the real ones matter. Like, I'm not, dude, I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers, right? But I can tell you that someone that has 10 plus thousand followers on Instagram, my engagement is wild because of that reason.
Yeah.
My engagement is really, really strong within Meta and their metrics because I have curated an audience.
Yeah.
I've never like done the giveaways and buy fans or whatever it is. I really just don't care about that. What I do care about is that I'm creating value for people from my own journey.
Yeah.
Right. It's not often am I out there going like, oh, I want to create something for people. It's like, damn, this really worked for me. I want to share it.
Yeah.
That's where my content comes from. My content comes from my own journey, my own lessons, my own learnings, my own successes, my own shovel in the dirt.
Yeah.
Right. Like going from fat to fit. Right. Like even my sobriety and my sober journey. I love sharing that because, dude, if I can do it, I believe anyone can. Right. And there's realities and I get it, dude. There's different demons, different things, different addictions, the things that are out there. But the truth is they're all choices. They really, truly are. Now, if something gets to the point where it's so in depth and it's so neurological, it's going to take other professional choices and in order to do that. But after a year of no alcohol, it's like a flex now. As a restaurateur who owns his own private label vodka, rum, brew, beer with his partners, and now don't even drink. That's just. It's kind of like Biggie said, like, never get high on your own supply. Like, bro, I was listening to that album in the 90s. I don't know why it took me till 2023 or 2024-ish, to recognize that. But I'm such a believer that it's just not the number of, like, followers. I think it's the quality of who you are and then the quality of the individual that you attract.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You could tell a lot by a person by who they attract. Right?
100%.
And I think that's a huge thing. And one thing I'm so happy about is like obviously the collaboration tab on Instagram now. I've learned through doing my personal brand and through jumping into this. Yeah. I don't know how people still like believe in like the fakeness of Instagram with people who have hundreds of thousands of followers with zero engagement, for example. Totally. It is absolutely blowing my mind.
I think plenty of people notice it, right? Like we are like, bro, that's just, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know where you're lacking significance, but buying followers, bro, it's like, dog, that's a little different than some bro talks, or whatever it is. Like there's something in there that you're lacking significance. And I'm somewhat empathetic for it. When I see it, right? Because I get people to go like, well, dude, why has McHenry only got 10,000 followers? Or, I'm like, only, bro? Because the average Instagram handle has like 100.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm like, especially in today's world, if you're growing to a handle of over 10,000 organically, bro, you're actually doing something right because there's a lot of noise out there.
Put 10,000 people in a stadium.
Yeah.
And if you could say that each one of those people follow you and are attracted to your message, that's incredible.
Just think about what the roar is of 10,000 fans.
Exactly.
The truth is, not everyone that follows you is a fan, dude. Trust me, you got plenty of people that are following you. They're just like, dude, listen, they're paying tickets to be to the show that you're playing, right? Like you're in the arena, bro. They're in the bleachers, right?
Exactly.
Like the bleachers duplicating their likeness too. And unfortunately, like those that are against the other team, they follow those other teams. They want to see.
They do.
They want to understand it. And people don't boo a lot. But the truth is, it just comes with the territory. I know when we're winning based off of just the shit that people talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're really winning right now because we're getting the attention of all the keyboard warriors and trolls.
Well, honestly, something I've told a couple people is when I first got my first negative comment on one of my videos, I got stoked. I was like, finally. I'd been posting for a while. And my buddy finally told me, he's like, Dan, you're not being truly authentic. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you don't have one negative comment. He's like, if you're going to actually be authentic, it's going to rub someone the wrong way and they're going to post negative. I'm like, oh, dude, you're right. I was way too vanilla. I was way too just like in the middle.
Bro, that's why I mean, you already know this, but I just push it. I push my maxims out there. Have you seen my Hey Fellas content?
Yeah, I love
put
that.
out like all of like,
that's I think I reposted half of them.
It's basically turned into this place for me to just be expressive.
Yeah.
But what's awesome about it is it's like, you know, when you're journaling, or maybe if you do, or people write their poetry, that Hey Fellas content has really given me an opportunity to just articulate journey, maxims, thoughts, responses in a written form. Yeah. And they're written like in little excerpts. They're almost like each of them's like a headline.
Yeah.
And dude, I have dozens and dozens and dozens of those published, non-published. Yeah. And that's been this way for me, believe it or not. It's like healing for me.
I can see that.
And it's connective for me. I love to lead the hearts of men. I love to be what I believe in and how I see myself. I can't speak on behalf of how the world sees me, but I see myself as someone who has the ability to move the hearts of men. Yeah. I feel like I have the ability to be a healthy example of a strong masculine.
I love that.
That is in touch, that is in tune, that energetically understands and feels vibrations, and also has zero tolerance for bullshit.
Yeah.
And has no problem calling it out. Like, I'll just fucking call it out. I got no problems with that.
Well, accountability is so important. And honestly, I think that what men lack more than anything else is accountability.
I think there's a reality of that, you know, although we crave as men and individuals, just humans crave to be accountable. They really actually do. Yeah. We want to be led. Yeah. You know, accountability is tough. And so I like to think about it this way. I like to think about accountability partnership. Yeah. I like to align with people that have similar values, associations, and missions that I do. And then we hold each other accountable in parallel.
Yeah.
Right. Like I would use a prime example of that. It's like my good friend Doc Howland, or even Mark McCormack, or Brian Wrigley. These other guys, McGarvey, like guys that you know and know well. Yeah. These boys have similar horsepower.
Yes.
Some of them have a little more horsepower. Like some of them have accomplished more, bigger portfolios, or maybe they have a family dynamic, or their relationships are furthered, or their personal development. And so I found that by creating association, and growing out of many and growing into some, and the some that I grow into are directional for me. And when you find people that are directional, whether that be in your personal relationships, whether that be in your professional relationships, whether that be in your choices, when you are on mission, you will find that it's unreasonable to expect to have someone meet you where you are, but it's not unreasonable to merge.
Oh, okay.
Because you're both heading in a similar direction. Like think about driving on the freeway.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're all in the fast lane,
you're just cruising.
You know what that's like? You like kind of go like this with a car from time to time.
Yeah.
Those are the guys I want. Like like they pull up next to me and it's like, bro, you see I'm doing 90 and you're doing 95 now and I'm doing 100 and you're doing 105. Yeah. Those are the guys I want to fuck with.
Yeah.
And life is that exact same way. Business is that exact same way. It's the accountability partnership that comes, like pressure in that is a privilege.
Yeah.
It's a privilege, dude.
Privilege.
Yeah.
So would you say for someone who's kind of like getting started, right? Maybe they're in an environment right now, they're listening to this or they listen to some of your other stuff and they're like, holy shit, like I need to change direction. I need to do something. What's some good advice you'd give to someone getting started out that is searching for accountability or searching for partnerships and doesn't know where to look?
Dude, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, by the way. This is a topic that I am glowingly passionate about.
Yeah.
Because I searched for it in all the wrong ways. Remember I told you before that there's like, I don't necessarily know there's a right way, but there's a wrong way.
Yeah.
and here's the truth. You can search so much from the outside. You can beg for those friends. You can be a fanboy. You can, show up and, go work the floor for free. Like whatever it is, produce the content, But the truth is none of that really matters because the best ones, and the ones that I believe that you ultimately should be running with, that should be in your lane, that you're going to do the 95, 105 with, the truth is they already know who you are. They might even know who you are before you know who you are because they've already done the work. Wow. And so when you say like, what is the thing that you would do? And I believe it's you got to get radically clear on you.
Wow.
You got to be able to look in the mirror and go like, I know that guy. I'm not saying you know everything. I'm just saying you just know enough. And the truth is, the core root, you've talked about this before, right? You want to identify an issue, an opportunity, an outcome, an expected outcome. You got to get to the core root of it.
Yeah.
Well, we happen to be the core root.
Yeah.
Like we are it.
Yeah.
Right? There's like not something internally inside of here that like someone else is like pushing the buttons.
Yeah.
You are.
Right.
You may be giving authority to someone else to push your buttons. But the truth is, like, you have to get to a point in your life and in your reflection that you're clear enough to realize that you actually see you for who you are.
Yeah.
And that self-awareness, the gift that comes from that awareness, the responsibility and accountability that comes from knowing oneself, is at the foundation of some of the greatest people I've ever known.
And I think it all starts with being brutally honest with yourself.
Dude, I've shared this experience with you, right?
Yeah.
You know this. I had that experience in the very hallway in which I met you in. And the truth is, like, it took me until I was damn near 40 years old to see myself for the first time. I was really good at convincing myself at what I saw. But the truth is, I didn't see my reflection truly and in depth for the first time until just over 2 years ago. Yeah. And what I have accomplished personally and professionally in 2 years exponentially outperforms anything in the prior 10.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even, it's the difference between like playing, little league football and lacing up in an arena on Sunday. It's that different.
It's massive.
It's that different.
Well,
and so there's just a radical truth that when you see that, you can no longer ignore it. So you can choose to pacify it, manipulate it, compartmentalize it, overwhelm it, or you can just choose to just own it and go to work on it and realize that we're all one and infinite.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that there's no two of us. And what a beautiful gift that God gave us in his glory, in our beauty and disaster, in our realities. Man, that to me is the fundamental recipe for life. That you get clearer and clearer on who you are and where you're going. Everything else is just a byproduct of that. Every relationship you have is a byproduct of your own awareness and your own value, your own conditions, your own boundary, your own accountability. Everything is a byproduct of the relationship that you have with yourself. Yeah. You will never have a great sustaining business without it. Some people get lucky. Some people trust me, but like I was thinking about this on my way here. It's interesting because I was just, thinking about topics.
Yeah.
But, I said something on social not too long ago. I said that, I believe it's irresponsible to be fat in the mind and body. I feel like it's irresponsible in today's world and reality to be out of shape mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Because we have so much access to information. It's like, what do you think about? It's like, not that I'm out here judging, but it's like you see someone smoking a cigarette right now and you're like, bro, really?
Really?
You're just like, it's not like I'm trying to judge you, but there's like, it's like the worst thing you can do for your health.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is like, bro, I own my own liquor brands. But the truth is, if you really understand alcohol and you understand what it does to your body, you're not going to mix it with juice and drink it and think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I sell it like it is, and I own that, and I sell it. And I love the essence of it, and the people that can control it, and the people that believe it serves them well. Great. I just know for me, once I got really clear on my reflection, Dan, once I got really clear on why I exist, so I was like, damn, I want to be as healthy as I can possibly be, to live for as long as I possibly can, to be the most incredible beacon for the people that I love, and I love me first and foremost, over all else. And the truth is, alcohol doesn't point towards that for me.
It doesn't point towards
There's a lot of choices, a lot of things, a lot of friends, relationships, experiences, moments, decisions that I made that don't point towards that anymore. And so, but I didn't have anything to gauge my decisions against. For the biggest part of my life, I just wanted to be successful. Yeah. All I really cared about was making money and earning choices.
And success was money.
I wanted, I grew up with very little, so anything felt like a lot, but a lot felt like a lot more, right? And so I just was like, I was hell-bent to go create it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, slow mornings are a pretty successful outcome.
Absolutely.
The truth of being able to walk down the beach with your 14-year-old daughter holding hands on a Wednesday and not be overwhelmed by the world. To me, that's the kind of success I'm seeking.
Absolutely.
And I want to do that when I'm 80 with my grandkids.
Yeah. when you look inward,
like I want a great grandkid,
yeah,
like holding on to my granddaughter who has a granddaughter on her hand walking down the beach together. That's in essence I'm trying to earn.
Yeah. Well, when you look inward and you ask yourself what true success looks like for you, it is crazy how easy the path shines. It is just the pathway to success becomes so bright.
Do you know how many people don't know that? The majority of people tuning in right now have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
Bro, I had no idea what that meant as someone who I think was a highly ambitious, highly motivated, created much success at a young age, went hell-bent, all in, all out, all the time for many years. I'm like, you're talking to someone that didn't truly take a day off for years at a time, not weeks, not months, not hours, not, oh, dude, I worked 100 hours. I'm talking like years of those kind of hours. And I had no idea why I was doing it.
Yeah.
And so you get clear on that. And if you actually know why you exist, life becomes so much clearer.
Absolutely.
Life becomes so much clearer. And, you know, I have to give it to Jimmy Rex and Watt. I do. I have to give it to the curriculum and direction. You know, Jimmy's not a magic man. He just happens to have thick enough stomach lining and brass enough balls to actually lead men, because that's just not an easy thing to do. And especially high horsepower. Yeah. Guys that like think on their own, that are independent in their thinking. Yeah. And you know, I give them a lot of respect for that, because I know I showed up into Watt like a wild bronco. And the truth is I left with disciplines that will truly change and inspire thousands of lives.
Absolutely.
And, you know, coming out of a 30-month graduation and having that kind of commitment and self-development and self-work and self-help, like the truth is we all have an ability to get clear. We all have the choice and an opportunity to understand who we are and who we expect to become. Yeah.
But it takes work. It is not an easy
Most people don't want the responsibility. When you're clear, you can't ignore it.
No.
Right? So it's like when you read the book, bro, like when you you're making a conscious or subconscious decision to avoid it. And I think honestly, a lot of society and men specifically avoid that responsibility. Yeah. For what you were saying, like I believe that everybody wants to be held accountable, and I think very few really do. Yeah. Right. But we as humans, it's part of who we are. Like we want to be led.
Yeah. Well, you want to be led and be held accountable. But the idea is that when you're being held accountable and you're moving on your path towards self-development and self-work, like we were kind of saying, the people who will help you along the path will be attracted to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So if you're out there and you want desperately to make better connections with people, and you want desperately to level up and to network with high individuals, you've got to look inward, work on yourself, and just focus on the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, and the mental aspects of who you are, and the people will be drawn to you.
Yeah, I think without question. You know, we energy draws energy. Yeah, I think you can even say it in a more succinct way, and I'm not a very succinct guy, you know. But it's like there's, you know, I like to use this example, but it's like, you know, so many of us have found ourselves out there searching for love, and we can't understand why we can't find it until all of a sudden we stop searching for love and fall in love with ourselves, and then all of a sudden love shows up. Yeah. Love is attractive. Clarity is attractive. Healing is attractive. Positivity is attractive. Just like negativity is, right? Like that can duplicate in its likeness. It's still a choice, right? I tell people like, dude, being overweight sucks and is hard. And being in shape, it sucks and it's hard. But like, I don't love just showing up at the gym every day and like, let's go, I can be great. Yeah. Like, dude, today I'm like, bro, I'm on the treadmill. Yeah, I was like 3.5 to 4 speed on like a 10 or 12 incline.
Okay.
But it was like, but my goal is to keep my heart rate at like 115. That's like a good fat burning one for me. Okay. But it gets boring.
It does.
It's not like super hard. Like I can do it all day long, but it's just boring. Yeah. I want to speed up or slow down. I want to go do something else. Yeah. But the discipline of realizing like, what's my expected outcome in there? And the truth is, not everyone's out there doing it, you know. And I take a look around. I like look at my own neighborhood. I look at my, you know, and if someone around here, man, I'm calling your ass out. But truth is, like my daughters, some of her friends and their dads, it's like, bro, when did you give up? Yeah. Like when did you give up? And you know, truth is, I've found moments where I didn't prioritize. I never felt like in my life I had given up. Yeah. I just maybe gave up on certain aspects of my world because I was leaned in other ways, not prioritizing my health or choices, disciplines. And now I look at it, I'm like, bro, like being 42 and weigh 240 pounds, you look like a linebacker, and dude, you got abs. I'm like, bro, that's a flex.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it's from making those decisions.
That is.
It's like you're willing to pay a price that the majority are unwilling to pay to get an outcome that very few, if any, will ever have.
Yeah. Well, I like what you just said there is you're the kind of person who is like all or nothing, right? You put your foot to the gas.
Like a complete fat ass or with abs.
But what I really like about the experience that you shared about with the treadmill is you, in order to go faster, further, there are times where you have to be going at a very steady pace.
Totally.
Right. And so for anyone who, like, for example, I did an Ironman this past year. And then before that, I did Thanks. It was the oh shit goal that our program
Good for promotes. You, man. That's
but
big.
I was always blown away when I was like, on the schedule for today, it's not kill yourself, grind yourself to a pulp. It was take it easy, keep your heart rate below 130 and just go.
Dude, isn't that interesting though? Because I've been training for a marathon.
Nice.
And bro, you gotta remember, like walking up the stairs used to put me at 140, right? But it's like, I get so bored running at a heart rate in the 120s. I'm just bored out of my mind, dude.
Yeah.
But that discipline and longevity and like building up that base for me and learning that sprints are important. But the truth is, like, that steady ability to train the heart to not only like maintain itself, but to recover quickly. So that was something too, that was like being able to take my heart rate from 160 to 80 was a huge deal. Right. And so it's like that recovery, being able to take my heart rate now, it's like I can finish a sprint and take a 1 mile walk. And I'm like, my resting heart rate's like in the 70s, 80s, where like, dude, it would be like 105.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so training that heart and training that ability, and I'm not a professional athlete, to be honest, dude, I'm a novice at a lot of this shit, especially running. But I can relate to that because there's a high discipline for someone like me to keep my heart rate under 130 when I'm running.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah. And so what I love is that what's hard for you is not what's hard or easy for anybody else. Yeah. Right. And so what I think that people look at is they look at people like you and like, oh my gosh, it must be so hard for him to contain a culture or to maintain a culture across multiple brands. And you're like, are you kidding me? I thrive off this stuff.
Yeah, totally.
What's hard for you is to sometimes take a step back and maybe reflect. Right. Which for a lot of people is a very slow and monotonous thing. And so I think what people need to do.
I lack being methodical. Like I'm very detail oriented. I notice a lot of things, but I'm not like, and I believe in strategy and produce strategy, and I'm an up and out guy. But the truth is, like, I'm not great at like sitting in things.
Oh, I know.
I'm like a 70% right kind of guy. Like I'm 110% sure, 70% right, where, I hire people to be 98% right.
Yeah.
I hire people to be methodical and have that greater level of detail and due diligence and reality, especially from the ops side.
Absolutely. And so you recognize where your strengths are. You hire other people that their strengths are your weaknesses, of course. But at the same time, it sounds like over the past 2.5 years through the program, we are forced to calm down, to look inward, to look at ourselves and to take it slow in some aspects through breath work, through meditation, sometimes through, hey, we just had this really impactful experience. Let's all sit down and like journal for a little bit. Right.
Yeah. I, like I said, Christy, she, actually wrote just, we had our 30-month, we had our graduation dinner last night and most of our wives were there. And I faced a lot of adversity going into the program because I had to get real and honest with myself and with others. And I hadn't actually given myself a chance, even since the time I was a child, to actually sit in my feelings, to actually understand how to process them and to learn from them and to move beyond them. And there is a really beautiful gift and outcome when you can sit in your shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't paralyze you. You're not going to rest in it, but it's important to sit in it for a little while. It's important to sit in it long enough to recognize what correction is needed and necessary. And to also offer yourself grace to realize that you're not going to eat an elephant all in one bite, and you're not going to change overnight, and you're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
And so we're human. And if I've learned anything in the journey of self-growth is that humans make mistakes and that we're not perfect and we're not expected to be. And the truth is there's a mission so much bigger than our own selves, and offering grace while taking a responsibility and ownership for your actions and adjusting to make better decisions is critically important.
Yeah, I love that. If I could ask to wrap up, one more question, short or long answer, whatever you like. But if you could grab, let's say you could grab a new restaurant owner, a new aspiring business owner, if you could grab them by the shoulders and you can tell them one critical piece of advice that they can use going into 2025, what would it be?
I think it's kind of two parts, and thank you for these thoughtful questions, and thank you for the time on your platform.
No,
I appreciate all the space and air you're giving me, Dan. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for letting me pour into your audience. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to learn more about you and to share my experience and journey. I don't take that for granted. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think the first and biggest and maybe the two that lie inside of that are, it's always going to take much longer than you expected. It's always going to cost you more than you expected. So I think those are the first two things. Don't be in a rush.
Yeah.
Like, just don't be in a rush. Activate, execute, be unwavering, but don't be in a rush, because I think when you rush an outcome, you're going to make a lot of unsustainable mistakes. And I think by rushing the outcome and believing you're going to get there far quicker than you expect, is you're going to set unrealistic expectations for yourself, and then you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. And if anything, in the last 20 years of my career and in journey, and I've had a lot of successes and many failures. Like I've opened many restaurants, I've closed many restaurants. I've created many brands, I've closed a couple brands. You know, I've most definitely, you know, you're hearing from someone who has lived this life.
Yes.
And I think you also need to put yourself into the mind share that you need to expect the unexpected. Variables are going to happen. Conditions are going to happen. A pandemic might show up. The tour bus might show up in your parking lot. Cost of money might go through the roof. You know, you might find yourself in a recession. You know, I referenced this earlier in the podcast, but find yourself in a situation where you can make make money at all business levels. And you know, the truth is, it's really hard to do that.
Sure.
But if you can really have the expectation and condition in order to do it, and the discipline, and so it's always going to take you a lot longer. It's going to cost you a lot more, and you're going to be let down. So give yourself some grace, get clear, and realize that the outcome is not a race.
Yeah.
That the outcome is a journey, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. And I will close with this piece, that nothing is more important than your health. Like, just no business, no outcome, no billions, no checkbook. Now I'm going to stay up all night long, work my ass off, burn myself out. And then once I make it, I'm going to go back and repair. And the truth is, it just doesn't work that way.
No.
Like, take care of yourself along the way. I didn't do that for so long.
Yeah.
And when I started to prioritize myself and prioritize my health, I watched the people around me do the exact same thing. I watched my dad after 52 years quit smoking. I watched my dad after 52 years quit drinking.
Wow.
And my my mentor, we actually share in him. I said to him one day, I was like, dude, I'm like, as much as my dad decided, I'm like, it pissed me off that it took him so long. And he looked at me like Jimmy would. It looks me right in the eyes and goes, you ever thought your dad just might have been waiting for you to do it? And I was like, whoa.
Dang. Yeah.
Like, whoa. And so just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And enjoy it, because it's going to be a hell of a lot harder than you expect.
I love that enjoyment part too, because I think if you do all the things that you say and you're okay with where the outcome is going to take you, how you're going to change personally, that you're going to be taking on a journey that you're going to love and that you need to enjoy along the way. Yeah.
Well, dude, thanks for your time, man.
Thank you.
This is very on mission for me, just wanting to leave people, places, and things better than I found them. So thanks for the time, bro.
You did that. I appreciate it so much. Obviously, your Instagram, Michael McHenry.
Yeah. Just at Michael McHenry. I run that handle. It's only me.
Yeah.
It's the only social profile or even like public facing, platform that I actually manage on my own. Yeah. The other stuff is managed by my team. So even if my name's popping up there, it's most likely someone on my team that's engaging with you. But if it's on Instagram, that's me.
That's him. Yeah. And if you want an uplifting message and seeing somebody that's working hard and okay with the outcome of wherever it takes him, that's where you need to go.
Yeah, come. So, if you want the real shit, come this way.
That's right, the authentic shit.
Yeah, bro, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Cheers.